What is going on, Nuggets Nation, NBA fans? My name is Tom Leuthner. Welcome back to Nuggets Today, presented by Fan Arch. We have some things to cover, and the first thing I want to cover is sort of backpacking off the last few, or 2 episodes ago at this point, or maybe even 3. The Nikola Jokic potential injury in Eurobasket for Team Serbia. It didn't look terrible. Like I said, he did check back in. He did hit a go-ahead clutch three-point, or a clutch three-point shot later in the game for them to win. Now, this is 2 games ago during the Eurobasket's spell, but last game he did play. They were playing Czech Republic. He looked good. He looked okay. He didn't look bad. He was wearing the arm sleeve, the compression sleeve that we did see him wear during the playoffs. So that is the bad of the situation. Now, it's not a bad thing that he was able to play, but it was a bad thing, in my opinion, that he was wearing that compression sleeve. We saw it in the NBA playoffs. He was wearing 2 sleeves. Nobody even knew what was going on. He doesn't talk about his injuries a lot, which I guess isn't a terrible thing. But like I said, seeing that, it makes me a little nervous, strictly because he did it during the playoffs. He just re-aggravated it. You could tell he re-aggravated it, maybe not by his gameplay, but there's no other reason for him to be wearing that arm sleeve except for the fact that he is hurt again and he wants to keep pressure on it so that he doesn't fall on it or, hit it again. Now, the good update for that is the fact that he was able to play, and the fact that he only played 18 minutes for Serbia, so they were able to take him out, give him some more rest on it. I'm sure he probably iced up after the game. They did dominate, so there was nothing much there for him to do. He did obviously start the game, played the first couple minutes, and then barely checked in after that. So that is the good sign when it comes to the update for Nikola Jokic. Like I said, though, the bad sign is the fact that you don't want to see him go down at all. He's such a big body, so to land on any body part like that is gonna sort of be, it's going to linger. It's going to be a lingering injury more than anything. So I hope that this doesn't linger on too much. Training camp does start, I believe, at the end of this month for the NBA, so like I said, I'm not too nervous about it. It's not something that, is going to be, groundbreaking for the Nuggets where he's not going to play this season. And they do have somebody to back him up this year. 2 people, I guess, now with Deron Holmes. So that is a major plus. That is another good thing to look at when it comes to this injury and the severity of this injury. It doesn't seem to be too severe. He's not in a position like Bogdan Bogdanovic or even Giannis, who was sitting out games during Eurobasket because of some soreness, I believe, in his lower half of his body. So that is a good sign. But at the same time, like I said, it's not great to see a guy like Jokic go down at all with those kinds of injuries, just because he is a bigger body and he has been durable thus far in his career. So you hope to see that durability is able to continue on throughout this next season. But that is the only update I have from Eurobasket right now. And I'll get into maybe a little bit in a second, but it does not have to do with Nikola Jokic. And the thing I want to turn to now is a little bit of the backup point guard position now. Somebody had posted on Instagram, a Nuggets page on Instagram that I follow, and they were speaking about the 2 guys who will probably make a difference, most likely make a difference for Denver this year. That's not going to be a major difference when it comes to younger talent, and that is obviously Deron Holmes, who we've covered, and Tamar Bates. And I thought that was pretty interesting because we all know the backup point guard position is sort of lacking right now. And when it came to the Summer League, I actually wasn't too impressed with Tamar Bates. Not that I wasn't too impressed, but when it comes to who I was most impressed with, obviously it was Deron Holmes, and it was Curtis Jones, in my opinion. I think Curtis Jones put on a performance for Denver. He was able to hit shots from anywhere, and that's something that I talked about way earlier, right before the Summer League started. He was a guy that I thought could be great for Denver, and I think that they brought in Tim Hardaway, so his role is sort of just a G League role at this point. I know I believe he's on a 2-way, he's on the last 2-way, but he's probably going to be a G League player, and he's not going to come onto the roster too much and make too much noise because you have guys that fill that kind of role with Tim Hardaway, with Julian Strother. So the one thing that I think about is the backup point guard position. That is right now the only real true backup point guard we have is Jalen Pickett, and I think that Tamar Bates could be a guy who comes in defensively. Now, I know Pickett's just a dog. He is truly just, when it comes to the brand of basketball he plays bully ball. I think that Bates could be a better guy for Denver just because he is a bigger body. He's going to be a defensive-minded guy. His offensive abilities aren't crazy, but when you have guys like Strother, guys like Duran, guys like Val, guys like Tim Hardaway, if Cam plays with that second unit, if AG plays with that second unit, if CB plays with that second unit, you have offensive-minded guys. So you don't need Tamar Bates if he does get the opportunity to come up to be this massive, massive player for Denver offensively. You just need him to go in, be a bigger body defensively at the point guard position. Him and Bruce could complement each other real well at the 1 and 2 if that is a possibility and you're playing a smaller team. The one team that comes to my mind with having them off the bench against starters would be the Cavaliers. I know it's a different conference, but Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell against guys like Tamar and Bruce Brown could be a fun matchup to watch. Not that these guys are the two best defensive guards of all time, but they're two pesky defenders, and I think that they're two bigger bodies, which would help Denver out when it comes to having a good bench unit. But I'm intrigued to see if Denver brings Tamar Bates up for the remainder of the season at any point throughout this year. I don't think they will. I think that right now it seems like Kessler Edwards is going to cover that last spot. So we shall see what happens. But I'm a little intrigued to see what Tamar Bates would be for Denver this year because people are pretty high on him. The next thing I want to talk about, like I said, was if I even get into Eurobasket here, I was looking at the Nuggets roster and I was really thinking about it. Is Jonas or Jonas Valanciunas a backup, top 5 backup center in the NBA? And I was going through it, and there's not many teams where I look at their backup centers, I think that they're amazing. I did like prior to this year Bobby Portis, but I don't think he will be coming off the bench for the Bucks this year. Maybe he will be with Miles Turner, Mitchell Robinson, but I do think that Val's a little bit better than Mitchell Robinson. You have the Pistons, which I like their core of backup centers with Stewart and Paul Reed, but I don't think that they're better than than Val. So I'm at the point where I do think that he might be a top 5 backup center in the NBA, which is massive for Denver, because I'm really going through it. I'm trying to find somebody who really blows my mind as a backup 5. Listen, you have Jalen Williams on the Thunder, but I don't think he's top 5. The Rockets have a good core of backup centers with Steve Adams and Clint Capella, but I don't think they're top 5. The Clippers, I guess so. With Brook Lopez, he's definitely top 5 in that conversation. The T-Wolves are Naz Reid, but they may start him this year, so who knows what happens. If you're going to look at the bench, I would say that the top 5 centers, not in order, in my opinion. Brook Lopez, Naz Reid, if he does come off the bench this year for the Timberwolves. I think that if Gafford comes off the bench, it's Gafford. If Lively comes off the bench, it's Lively. And then I like the Suns core of Williams and Malwatch. Maybe one of them too. And then I think that Val's up there also. Not in order, like I said. So I definitely think that Val is a top 5 backup center in the NBA, which is massive for Denver to have a guy backing up the best center, top probably 10 center, 7 center maybe of all time. And he's a top 5 backup in the league. Maybe not a top 5 center, maybe not a top 20 center, but he's definitely a top 5 backup in the league. So I think that's a massive step for Denver. Now, this last topic is very brief. It is the community talk topic, which I actually love to cover. Now, a few episodes ago, somebody brought up the potential of Denver keeping the last slot of their roster open and signing CJ McCollum if he was bought out throughout the middle of the year. And I think that could be a great move, but I don't think it's really feasible. I think that he's going to demand more money just because of how good of a season he had last year, depending on how well he plays this year. I think if we see CJ McCollum average anywhere from 15-plus points per game, you're going to see him demand more than the vet minimum if he is bought out. He will go to a contender, but I don't think he takes a vet minimum to be a backup on a contending team. I think that he may go to a contending team that needs him more than Denver does, strictly because Denver, they don't need him necessarily. They could use him. I would love him, but I don't think that Denver would be able to afford him, unfortunately. But, if it's a possibility, then go ahead and do it. And I think that if CJ McCollum comes as a backup point guard, that's a guaranteed championship for Denver. But I don't see that being a realistic move necessarily. But that's all I got for you guys this episode. I'll keep doing my research, getting some more episodes out for you guys whenever I can. And hopefully I have another episode out for you guys tomorrow. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow.